Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webcast. We are so excited to have you join us today. We've got some faculty from across the university here to share their pearls of wisdom for how you can be successful as you enter graduate school. You should see an interact button in the lower right hand corner of your screen. You can use those to submit your own questions for our faculty, and hopefully we'll be able to handle those at the end of our presentation. So if we're going to go ahead and get started, we've got a lot of great content for you. And so we'll begin by introducing our panelists. We've got Dr. Brian Martinson from the Department of Management in our College of Business, Dr. Felicia Murray, representing the Department of Social Work and Communication Disorders in our College of Health Sciences and Human Services. And then we've got Dr. Sharon Ross from the Department of Educational Leadership and Technology in our College of Education. And then Dr. Rudy Tarpley, representing the Department of Agricultural Education and Communication in our College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So at this time, I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves further. Tell us a little about yourself. How long have you been at Tarleton? What graduate programs do you teach in? What are your research interests? Whatever you care to share with us. Dr. Martinson, if we could start with you.
Great. Thank you, Winnie. Well, glad everybody's here to join us to talk about our graduate programs. My name's Brian Martinson. I'm from St. Cloud, Minnesota originally. That's the Lake Wobegon if you're a Prairie Home Companion fan, but spent a little bit of time traveling around, working at different things before I landed at Tarleton in 2012. My undergraduate background, I'm a theater and philosophy double major. Right after undergraduate school, I started a nonprofit professional theater. So I was a producer, a director, a designer, a very poor struggling artist for about 10 years. And I'm married to an actress, so she was a very poor struggling artist right along with me. And after about 10 years of that, I decided I wanted to go back to graduate school. And actually, I wanted to go back to undergraduate school and get a degree in accounting. I ended up traveling to Egypt where my wife got a job teaching, and I wanted to join the undergraduate accounting program, but they said if I came in, I would have to start as a freshman. So they convinced me to get into their graduate MBA program. And I was pretty terrified because I'd never had a single undergraduate business class, but my years of experience working were just wonderful. And everything that we learned in the class was perfectly applied to my background and what I was doing. And because of that, I was very excited about everything I was learning. I was a much better graduate student than I was an undergraduate student. Ironically, I took every class they had in finance. I took a lot of varieties of classes, international management. Everything we did was international because it was done in Egypt. But ultimately, the only thing I never took classes in was human resource management. And here we are 20 years later, I'm an HR professor and all I teach is HR. But I became an HR professional. I worked at a couple of universities as a director of HR, and my PhD is in strategic business management, specifically HR. And the courses I teach in Tarleton are primarily in the Master of Science in Human Resource Management program. And I teach primarily compensation and labor relations, but I've also taught business ethics and international management because, again, my background studying overseas. What I'm interested in researching are pretty much anything to do with businesses and employees and practices to try to make businesses function better, make employees produce better, make employees happier, anything that deals with that, the interaction of people and work for creating outcomes, desired outcomes.
And how long have you been at Tarleton?
Since 2012, I started, and gosh, it's been 10 years, a decade.
Awesome. Awesome. Dr. Murray.
Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Felicia Murray. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Social Work and Communication Disorders. A little bit about me. I am a social worker. It's my vocation. It's my love. Before becoming a professor, doing this higher ed kind of education piece, I was also a child welfare worker for Children's Protective Services. I did that for about 5 years. I was also a social worker at a private foster care agency. So I did a lot of my practice work in child welfare, working with children who were at risk of abuse and neglect. I also have done a lot around education and training. I absolutely love students, undergraduate and graduate students, and I've worked with both in higher education. I am now a private practitioner where I have a small therapy practice that I absolutely love. It's helping me to keep my social work skills up, as well as engage with people in the community and really try to help, especially around some of this COVID-19 piece. I have a lot of clients who are still feeling anxious and some depression as it relates to the pandemic. So I've been happy with that work, and I feel like I'm making a difference like we want to do in social work. I've been at Tarleton since 2017, and I absolutely love it here. I was intentional about coming to Tarleton because it was a teaching institution. And as I said, I love students. I feel that I am a teacher first and a researcher second, although I do love research as well, just not as much as teaching. And some of my research interests are really around father engagement and involvement, the scholarship of teaching and learning. So I want to know how can teachers be more effective in the classroom, and how can we help students learn better, as well as outcomes for former foster youth, since that was my first love, working with that population as a social worker. I teach primarily in the graduate program, although I have been an undergraduate educator as well. But here at Tarleton, I teach in the graduate program. Other things about me, I'm a mom. I have 2 great kids. I have a dog that you would probably see walking in the background if I didn't have my screen up. And I am married to a fantastic man, 22 years this coming September. And that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Dr. Ross.
Okay, well, welcome. We're so glad you're here. I have been at Tarleton for 3 years, and I came right when our College of Education, our department, was having an audit from TEA. So that was my initiation to Tarleton. And I'm excited about the work that we do because I get to help aspiring leaders, school leaders, people who are aspiring to be principals, people who are aspiring to be superintendents, because I'm the coordinator of the principals program and the superintendent's program. A little bit about myself. I came up through the ranks as a teacher in elementary school, and then I became a principal of several different schools in East Texas in different districts, all elementary principalships, and then one middle school that went through one elementary that went through 6th grade, and then a middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I was able to do the secondary scene. And then I became an assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction, and then a superintendent. I never wanted to be a superintendent, but it was God's way of saying, I need you to do this. So there were some things that I saw along the pathway, and the journey just became and evolved. And so I've enjoyed what he has given me. Years and years ago, when I was working on my master's, my mentor professors asked what I wanted to do with my life. And somewhere in there, I said I wanted my doctorate. Somewhere in there, I said I wanted to teach at higher ed, but I wanted experiences. So all of those things have happened in my life. And some things out of order, some things in order, but there is no order when you take the pathway that is meant for you. And so I am glad to be here. So as I said, I teach in the Ed Leadership Department. I teach principal courses. I teach superintendent courses. I'm unique in that I'm the only one who teaches in the superintendent program at Tarleton. It's a one-girl show, boss girl. But I love it. I also get to sit on the committees for doc students. So that's a piece that I enjoy doing as well. My research interests are women of color, women superintendents, self-care, things like that. I enjoy reading and researching anything that has to do with school leadership, campus leadership, district leadership as well, and organizational structure and culture. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I enjoy the Gigi life. That's what they call me. And I do have a Chihuahua who misses me when I'm not at home. Okay.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ross, you mentioned TEA. For those who don't know, what is TEA?
I apologize for those of you who don't know. TEA is Texas Education Agency here in the state of Texas. And that is an organization that oversees school business and school operations.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Dr. Tarpley.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Rudy Tarpley. I grew up on a cattle ranch over in a neighboring state of New Mexico, and as such, I was active in 4-H and FFA. And so I went to New Mexico State University, and I studied agricultural and extension education, taught high school agriculture and biology and ag mechanics for 5 years. And then I went to Mississippi State University, got a doctorate and a master's and a doctorate in agricultural and extension education. And I've been at the university level for most of the time since then. I've been at Texas Tech. I spent 7 years at Utah State. And then I came here to Tarleton State in 2010. So I'm about to start my 13th year at Tarleton. We love it here. We think it's a great place to land. The graduate program, and I teach mostly graduate classes, is agricultural and consumer science resources, although we're about to change that name to Ag and Extension Education Leadership. About a third of our students are agriculture teachers across the state of Texas, want to get their master's degree to further their career. About a third of our students are online students who are extension agents and 4-H agents, and they're working on their master's online. And then about a third of our students are just agriculture people and a couple of non-ag people who simply want to get a master's degree, and they like the classes that we teach about the history of agriculture and education. We talk about land grant universities like Texas A&M and New Mexico State and Mississippi State, the history of in fact, we do the history of universities in America. So our students are interested in general agriculture backgrounds, and then furthering their career. My research interests right now are mostly agricultural literacy. You know, I was born on a ranch, and many of our listeners might have been born on a farm, ranch, or dairy. But if we go to their parents, a lot of our parents grew up on a farm, ranch, or dairy. But if we go to our grandparents, a good number of grandparents grew up on a farm, ranch, or dairy. And my point being is, as our society moves along, we're moving away from production agriculture, yet we still all eat and put clothing on our back and roofs over our head. So we think agriculture is pretty important. And where could it be more important than Tarleton State University, founded as an agriculture school? And we still do a good job with that. So thank you so much, and we'll stand by for questions and carry on.
Thank you so much. Okay, so next question. What would you say are the big differences between undergraduate education and graduate school? And what are some benefits of graduate education? Why would anybody want to consider getting a master's degree and eventually a doctoral degree for some people? Dr. Murray, what do you think?
That's a great question. I think one big difference between undergrad and grad school education is the expectation of rigor. When you become a graduate student, the level of critical thinking is going up a notch. The level of writing is going up a notch. The level of analysis is going up a notch. And so that requires you then to devote more time and to think a little bit more critically about how you understand whatever your area of discipline is. It also requires you to, I think, be a different sort, have a different relationship with research. Some disciplines will require you in graduate school to actually produce a thesis or a small project where you have to work with faculty. But then there are other programs where the goal is for you to become a responsible consumer of research. So that means that you'll understand how to ask questions of things that you read. You'll understand how to identify things that maybe don't make sense. And one of the great things about being a graduate student I'm speaking because I'm biased as a graduate faculty. One of the great things about being a graduate student as it relates to research is when you see things in your life, your kind of everyday kind of occurrences, when you hear things that are research based, you now question those things because you understand the difference between quality research and not so good research. So that's one of the big differences for me. I think some of the benefits of graduate school is it helps you to really identify areas of interest, because as you continue to move up from a master's degree to a doctoral degree, you really become an expert in an area that you've chosen. So you really get to kind of live in a discipline in a way that you don't when you're an undergraduate student, because you're getting a wide range of knowledge as an undergraduate student. Whereas when you're a graduate student, you're kind of honing in on some key areas of interest. So that really kind of helps. I think of undergraduate and graduate education as a funnel. As a undergraduate student, you're really kind of at the top, but the further up you go, the thinner that funnel gets. And that doesn't mean you aren't getting anything, right? You're getting a lot as a graduate student, but your focus is that much more narrow. So that's what I would say some of the differences and the benefits are of graduate education.
What about you, Dr. Ross?
Dr. Murray took some of the words out of my mouth, because I think of the differences being the graduate student looking at the responsibility and then the ownership, the expertise, and then the focus. The graduate student has a focus on the personal development and their goal toward their pathway. There is a higher level of productivity from graduate students, not necessarily in measurement from undergraduate to graduate, but the graduate focus then produces a higher level of productivity on the job or in the processes as well. Some of the benefits of the graduate education I see is, breaking through that glass ceiling is when it pertains to leadership and leadership opportunities. You are setting yourself in position for a seat at the table, if you will. You're preparing yourself for those opportunities. You're preparing yourself for lifelong learning and lifelong opportunities. You are prepping yourself for leadership and that opportunity for life beyond leadership as a whole. And then, as Dr. Murray said, she talked about rigor. And when she said rigor, my mind said relevance as well as the rigor in all of it, but the relevance of your career. So when I'm a graduate student, I'm working toward getting that degree so that I can have a career and not just a job. And then as I move up into my graduate studies, now my education becomes more focused and relevant on where I'm headed or where I'm going to set myself up for additional success.
Thank you. Dr. Tarpley.
Yes, we get a lot of students coming into our program, and they'll have an agriculture degree or some other degree, and they'll say, I want to be a high school agriculture teacher or an extension agent. And the point I make to them at that point is graduate degrees aren't necessarily entry-level degrees. To be a high school ag teacher, you really need an undergraduate ag ed degree. And then we do the master's degree to add on to that, to advance it, to become lifelong learners, all these wonderful things that are already said. Now, having said that, we now have an option in our degree where you can certify to teach while getting a master's degree. But by doing that, we have to go back and take some undergraduate classes in the College of Education and so on and so forth. So the point I want to make is that, remember, your undergraduate degree is your entry-level degree. That's what gets you into the workforce or the vocation, perhaps. And then your master's degree, that's what is the icing on the cake. And that's what gets your education deeper. And that's what gives you your appreciation degree. And so I just want to say that for students who want to change a vocation and then want to go get a master's degree, that may not seem serve the same purpose as an undergraduate degree. Now, the benefits of our degrees, if we have a high school ag teacher or an extension agent or somebody in the agricultural profession, many times a master's degree will actually bump up the salary. Now, the salary won't be high enough in 1 year to pay for the master's degree, but we find that after 10 to 15 years, the graduate degree pays for itself. So one of our benefits is financial, especially in our areas of education and extension. Now, I didn't go get a master's degree and a PhD to bump up my salary. I got it because there's some things that a graduate degree allowed me to do, like work at a university or work in a community college, or maybe even go into management of some agricultural businesses and operations. Great.
Thank you. Dr. Martinson? And you're on mute, Dr. Martinson.
I apologize. I live on Zoom. I can't believe I forgot that. My bad. For me, the difference has been, I was a traditional student. I started out, had limited experience, and I'm studying things that are all new to me. So in one way, I didn't understand them deeply. I tried to learn them through the course. In grad school, I brought all this experience with me. So everything that I was covering in the courses, much greater understanding. And I appreciated that because one is I understood a lot more. It wasn't all new to me. And two, I was really excited and desired to learn even more. It wasn't just an assignment. I really wanted to know why things work the way they did and how things could be done so outcomes could be improved. Couple of things that I think are beneficial, and this is almost a paradox, but you start to learn how much more there is to know about everything. When you study in a graduate school, and especially a PhD program and beyond, you start to realize whatever you know, there is so much more to it, and there's so many avenues you can run down to get an even greater understanding. It's intimidating to some extent, but on the other hand, it gives you the second part of this, which is a confidence. You have a deeper understanding of the world and the way things work, in your discipline, across disciplines. And I didn't expect that. I was really applied. I wanted to get a master's degree so I could work in a business. And I realized I learned so much more about the world, which propelled me to go on and get a PhD because I didn't want to stop learning even after the 2 years I did for my master's. But that's an incredible benefit outside of the obvious, hopefully better pay, better job opportunities. And if you just have a passion to learn, it's an organized way to learn. You could take a lot of different classes and things a lot of different ways. I like a little package around it now and then. So a master's degree,
another master's degree. Credential.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Wonderful. We love it. Okay. Next question. What qualities do you think make for a successful graduate student? What should they be bringing to the table? Dr. Ross, let's start with you.
Okay, so to be a successful graduate student, I think that one of the things you need to have as a quality is to be focused. You can't have a lot of different avenues going on in your mind. You must be focused. You need to be determined, have an open mind, and be willing to listen to professors, be willing to listen to different types of viewpoints from different professors. Be willing to explore different options in your life. Be that person who says, I'm not sure about that, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to explore that. Not saying that you're going to hop from a job to a job to a job to another one. Not that, because that's being flighty, so to speak. I know there's probably a better word for that. That's all I can think of right now. But be one who takes charge of yourself and your destiny. Know where you want to go or where you think you want to go, because there are different options and different pathways. And sometimes as you get your degree, your mind will change. But have that mindset of inquiry where you are asking questions over and over and beyond just the regular, what is it that I want to do? do you have a passion for what you think you might want to do? So I think those are some of the qualities that make a successful graduate. I have a whole list, but my partners have some to add to what I just said.
Dr. Tarpley, what do you have to add?
Hey, I have to make a confession. I am working on another master's degree right now, and I am loving it. So I'm almost 60 years old, and here's what I found out. I wish I could do it all again. I am such a better student than when I was 20 years old. Shocker, right? I'm reading my textbooks, and I'm actually studying for exams a couple of days before the exam instead of a couple of hours before the exam. I'm asking questions because I'm interested in the answer, not because I'm trying to make trouble in the class. And so I guess I have one thing to add to this. You know, when you become a grad student, it was time for me at least to become a little more mature in my academics and not put things off and not just try to keep up with the reading and then give up on it just because I have to do it, but because I love what I'm learning right now. And even if I don't love what I'm learning, golly, just that I'm paying for this class, let's make it worth it. It's an investment, and it really, really does pay off. So for me, I wish I could do it all again and be the mature learner that I am right now. And so I don't know, maybe that helps or not.
Very good. What program are you in?
I am working on a master's at the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, and after I leave the university, I might go into the ministry. We'll see.
Wonderful. So that's theology, divinity.
That's correct. It's a Christian studies program. And
Okay.
it might lead to a pastorship somewhere if I still have gas in the tanker in a couple of years.
I'm sure you'll have the gas. Fantastic. Good for you.
Congratulations.
So you're living firsthand what it means to be a successful graduate student.
And you know what? It's making me a better online teacher because I'm taking online classes. And what I'm griping about, and then what I'm looking at the way I'm an online teacher, I'm learning so much on how to be a better teacher. It's really beneficial.
You have to walk a mile in the shoes to really understand. Very good. Dr. Martinson, what have you seen about what makes someone a successful graduate student?
Well, I would echo what my colleagues have said, and I'd probably add, to me, the big important one is just a desire to improve, just a desire to learn and do better. I think the second thing is maybe just somebody who's got the discipline or willing to try to develop the discipline. So as Dr. Tarpley said, you start reading those textbooks, you start studying in advance. I too was a lousy, I always tell my students my first GPA when I started as an undergrad was 1.5. It went down the second quarter. And my students faint. And I'm like, how did you get to be in front of me? And I point out in my major, in my PhD, I was a 4.0, but I was a slow starter.
Yeah.
But I started to get the discipline. And I realized when I went back to school, I just had to do it. And plus the fact that the third part that I would say, you have to be curious. And by the time I was back in school working on my master's, I was extremely curious about how things worked. And I really wanted to learn how things work so that then I could improve in what I was doing. So
wonderful. There's hope for all of us then. Dr. Murray.
Well, I said great things. I'm taking notes too. I would add that I think that it's important as graduate students to really come at your studies, your experience with a spirit of collaboration. So you're collaborating not only with your classmates, but also with your professors to get this information so you can be the best professional that you can be once you leave school. So I think learning how to work effectively with groups, partners is very important, not only in graduate school, but beyond, really in your career. If we kind of look at where the labor market is going, there's all sorts of studies and things that you can read talking about how the interpersonal piece, those soft skills are really important. And to me, one of the major ones that we need to really lean on is the spirit of collaboration. I would also say that it's important as a graduate student to be able to prioritize. I don't really go with the work-life balance because I think that there's really no such thing. It's really about priorities. And sometimes your studies will have to take priority, and people in your life will have to understand that. And other times, your life will have to take priority, right? Because you're not coming, when you come to school, life around you doesn't stop. Many of you are parents, many of you may have other responsibilities, but the key to being successful is prioritizing, right? The other thing I would say, successful graduate students communicate often with their professors when priorities are competing and they may impact them in the classroom. I can say honestly that if you come and talk with your professors, you'd be surprised about how things can be worked out. But we can't help you if we don't know. So communication is key to success in graduate school.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what would you say is the role of a faculty advisor, and what support can graduate students expect from their advisors? How about Dr. Tarpley? What would you say to this?
You know, in our department, we have a thesis and a non-thesis option. And sometimes it's a little bit different. If I have a thesis student, I want to meet with that student pretty regularly, especially as the thesis is advancing. And I'll set an appointment every 2 weeks. And I'll tell that student, you come to your appointment, even if you don't have any work done, because if you feel a little uncomfortable because you hadn't had any work done, that sometimes is motivation. And sometimes I'll have students that will get work done on their thesis just to come see me. That thesis document can be really overwhelming. And so I try to get the students to break it down into parts, as we all do. And I find that that helps. So I set appointments. I want to see them often. I want to meet with them often. And as we work on the thesis. Now, for our non-thesis students, my job as a faculty advisor looks a lot like the undergraduate. If they need help, then I will work with them each semester and working on their classes. But golly, you're a graduate student by now. Our graduate program is only 12 classes. And so most of our students can figure out what classes they need and figure out when they're going to take them. And usually my first appointment with them, their first semester, we get all that planned out. We know exactly when they're graduating. And from then on, they just follow their graduate plan. But I try to make sure that I'm available. I make sure I keep my office hours I try to give all my grad students my cell phone just in case they need help and in case a fire comes up that we need to put out.
Thank you. Dr. Martinson?
In the College of Business, we're a little different in that we have 2 full-time advisors that are staff positions, and all they do is work with advising our students. In the program that I'm the program coordinator for, the Masters of Science in Human Resource Management, we actually currently have 10 required classes. So it's pretty straightforward. You take them, we have an intro class, we have an exit class called the capstone, and then we have the set of 8 other classes in between that you take however the student desires. But I'd like to echo what Dr. Murray says in that the faculty are available to provide guidance beyond just which classes should I take. And it's frequently students, I think, are afraid to contact faculty and reach out to them outside of the coursework. But my experience with, and for me certainly, we joined this organization. We came to be teachers because we want to help students develop their knowledge and their careers. And you know, the ideal is if you have a question, it could be about the course, it could be about the program, it could be about the career, it could be about almost anything. You can reach out to faculty and just say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Do you have any feedback? So again, College of Business is a little different. We have a very structured advising program. We have very set curriculum, but the faculty are there to provide support in other ways. Course related and beyond.
Yep.
Dr. Murray.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I would just add that my department, we faculty are responsible for advising directly. So I do often meet with students, even though our curriculum is also prescribed. So if they follow it, they shouldn't have any issue. But usually when students come to visit, it is to talk about those other pieces that are kind of career development pieces. And I think that that's important. And that's also the role of the faculty advisor, especially in graduate school, because we have some of us for a year, maybe 2 or 3 years. And that really is a small time when you are trying to prepare for a workforce position, right? So some pieces don't always come out that will be useful for you from a career perspective in your classroom. And I think that that's a unique hole that the faculty advisor can fill for you if you come and spend some time with them during those. We love to see you.
Dr. Ross.
Absolutely. I agree with everything that has been said. You know, as an advisor, we listen, we advise, we answer, we plant seeds, we steer you, we guide you, we assist in planning, we answer questions. We answer your questions about why, and we give you reasons to move forward, move in a different direction, and things like that. And support then you can expect from us. And I too, I look at the doctorate program in the College of Education. I look at the master's program, and you can expect help with your dissertation. You can expect help in the master's program with your practicums. We help our students figure out what type of practicum activities they can do. We help our students, I'm on committees with the dissertation, so we help them figure out their passion, their dissertation topics and what they want to do, which direction they want to go, what is the reason for the research, why do you want to do it, and what impact it's going to make on public schools. And so those are some things, some support areas. Even with assignments, some explanations about assignments. We're always on Zoom and things like that, answering questions. We can redirect negative thoughts. I believe Dr. Murray mentioned COVID and the things that have gone on in the past and are still there. We can't say just the past and ignore it, but still there. We do a lot of and I can't say counseling in the sense of counseling that Dr. Murray talks about, but we do a lot of listening and talking and directing and counseling in our own way as far as support when students get behind in their lessons, when they have questions about, you know, what should I do? What should I, if it's a professor that they're not used to talking to on a regular basis, or, you know, maybe they have a little fear or something, then we help them to ease their minds and to move forward. Just give them a way to say, hey, here's how you can redirect the situation and go to that professor and open up the lines of communication, if you will.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Tarleton is an institution that uses Canvas as our learning management system. Can we talk about how you structure your courses in Canvas? And what is it like to be in a fully online course or program? What is that execution? Because for some of our prospective students, they may not really be able to wrap their minds around what that means. Dr. Martinson, you're in a fully online program. You're the perfect person to start us off on this.
Yes, actually, most of our graduate programs in the College of Business are 100% online. And Canvas, as the learning management system, is used by different faculty in different ways. So I'll talk about how I use it, and the other faculty are similar but not exact. One of the things that we offer, and I think this is uniform across the College of Business, are called asynchronous online courses, meaning there's not a set meeting time to meet with a group online. You have work that needs to be done. A syllabus is created, which is the outline of it. The learning management system can hold all kinds of assignments and quizzes, resources. Some of the courses that we have will use digital resources that come from textbook authors. So there might be a component where you'll go in and you'll get an e-textbook and you'll use some of the learning tools that those e-textbooks provide. Usually it's a form of adaptive reading or the ability to watch textbook related videos that tie back to discussions or questions within this resource. How I do it, my class, is I structure it like a weekly class. So College of Business, we have 8-week classes generally. And I open a class each week. I'm very specific. Tuesday at 5 p.m. is the first day of the week. Everything that I open is due the following Monday at 11:59 p.m. I do that intentionally so that students, if they want to work over the weekend and get it done, they can. However, if they want to spend time with their families over the weekend, they still have Monday if they've put it off to the last minute. And basically, I allow students to work ahead where is convenient, because that's part of our mission in the College of Business, is to fit into the schedule of the student. But a lot of things that I do, I bring the students through the course at the same pace. So we work together on certain things at the same time. And I think that's a little different than some of my colleagues. I don't want students to get too far ahead or work on things that are not, we can't relate to each other in a weekly basis. But essentially, over the course of the semester, I have discussion boards, watch videos, talk about them. I have reading assignments, I have quizzes, I have exams, have papers that are due. All of it is usually described, and resources are provided through the Canvas learning system. And then ultimately the materials or the assignments are submitted through the Canvas learning system. It's a great tool for teachers, obviously, because it helps us organize our classes, but it's also an incredibly great tool for students, because you're not schlepping around book bags and notebooks and having all this stuff and trying to keep track of it. It's available to you all the time. And it's just a matter of, how the different teacher will set that up.
Dr. Murray?
Dr. Martinson, Mark, I mean, he talked about everything that we need to know as it relates to Canvas. I structure my classes in a similar way, those that are online. I also add a synchronous component, though, and it's optional for students to come, and I call it Sunday Night Live. So we meet maybe every second or third Sunday to come together. They can come if they want to. We'll talk about the course. They can ask any questions about the course. I may give a mini lecture, and in those cases, I record it so those who weren't able to come, they can see it as well. I do that because I got feedback that students really wanted to interact. Remember, I'm a social worker, so we're really about feelings and emotions. So students wanted to be able to interact in that way. And so it was easy for me to create just about an hour experience for them every 2 or 3 weeks to come together and talk about the course. And it really depends on which class I'm in. So sometimes that really lends itself to talking about current events from a social work framework. So how would we address issues as it relate to some of the unrest that's going on in terms of our social policy. So we would talk about that in a policy class. So it gives it a kind of feel where they can really have that connection with each other. And then I think it also helps when they are having to do those discussion boards, because it's like, hey, I talked to Sharon last week at the Sunday Night Live. So now I have this kind of different interaction with her. So it is still online, but they have these components where they can at least see each other in that online environment. And you can do that, through Zoom as well, and add that to your course.
Thank you. Dr. Ross.
All right. So that's interesting. So we pretty much do a lot of the same things. The principals courses and the that program and the superintendent's program is 100% online. And so pretty much the same thing. I make sure that I have a welcome Zoom for both of those. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I make sure that I have a welcome Zoom, and so that they can get to see me if they've never seen me before. I want them to have that experience before the course starts. And I thank Dr. Martinson for giving his view on Tuesday night and the weekend, and I might try that because mine is Monday starts and your assignments are due Sunday night. And so, but I really like the concept of the weekend. We have chat rooms, we have discussion boards, we have students, some assignments are where students have to video themselves. Instead of writing a 3-page assignment, they record themselves and they discuss that way, and then they upload so that their peers are hearing them and they're talking about whatever the concept or the lesson is. They're explaining it. These are principals and superintendents aspiring. And so they're talking about the campus plan, the meeting they had with teacher A, or whatever it is they're talking about, the budgeting. And so when they're doing that, then their peers they're answering back, because you have to give feedback. So they're sitting there on the discussion board. Hey, I liked it in the video when you said this or that or the other. And so pretty much we have some courses might have a weekly Zoom, and some just might be once a month or a frequent Zoom. And again, Nearpods, we do, some type of technology type thing. One of my colleagues is really great at doing the badgers, so that students get that feel, that exciting feel when they finish their coursework and they get their grade and everything. So I haven't graduated to that yet, but I want to. I've been working on it, so I'll get there pretty soon, because I've been learning how to do that as well. So that's pretty much how we execute online. We don't want it to just be boring. We want them to have some feel of I'm in class.
Yes. So Dr. Tarpley, your program is online as well. Are there face-to-face courses for you?
We do. We have our program can be taken completely face-to-face or completely online, as many of the other programs here, or in any combination. We need the 36 hours, however they want to complete it. Now, one of the things that we run into is we'll have a face-to-face class that some students need online. And so sometimes, usually we'll try to make that available. And so we're using Canvas more than we've ever used it before. Everything we do face-to-face, we try to make sure it's available in Canvas. And sometimes we have to supplement that with email. Generally, I post a module every week. I post it on Monday, make the assignments and quizzes due on Sunday night during the weekend. And generally, I take I'll post my objectives, and I'll post the unit of instruction, and then I'll post a lecture with that along with the assignments. And so ours is pretty cut and dry. Probably looks like a lot of the others as well.
Thank you. It's interesting to hear the differences between the disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of options. Okay, this has been a great discussion, but we're running short on time. We're in our last 13 minutes, and I may have been overly ambitious in the questions I wanted to ask you. So we're just going to quickly go through these. We talked a little bit about student interactions, the support that you're giving to students. If you could each briefly talk about how student access to you, and on the issue of faculty-student research collaborations, we'll just say that there are lots of opportunities for that to make it short and sweet. So Dr. Murray, how accessible are you to your students, and what are the interactions, very, very quickly?
Well, in my opinion, I'm extremely accessible to students. Students know the best way to get in touch with me is through email. I'm very responsive to email, easy to connect with on Zoom, via phone, whatever it is they need. I try to make myself available. My students, because they're non-traditional students, like many graduate students, and they have jobs, most of them. So it's difficult for them to come during a kind of traditional office hour from a 9 to 5 standpoint. So I try to make myself available to them on evenings and even weekends. And that's one of the reasons why I also do a Sunday night live. Like, that is a thing for me, because that is a way for them to also get their needs met, so they can have some FaceTime with me, even if it's over Zoom, to get those needs met, because it's not always about what's happening in the class, and maybe other things that they need support with. So I really make that a concerted effort to make myself available to students, because again, I love students.
Thank you. Dr. Ross.
Okay. So yes, we have in our HR class, we had a Saturday morning coffee break with one of our authors of our HR book. And so that gives that time too. We don't want to take up too much of the weekend, but that Saturday morning coffee was really great. But I do the same thing. Now they know they can email me, they can request office hours. Most of the people that I have in class have never been to my office except for Crowley ISD employees, because they're right there next door and I'm located in Fort Worth, Texas. But the majority of my students who take advantage of interactions with Dr. Ross know exactly what to do, and that is to send a text message to my phone and say, can I call you? What time can I call you? And I give them a time. They call. If they want to Zoom, I will Zoom with them. If they want a face-to-face, we'll do that. One student said the reason she knows me is because she can spend anywhere from 3 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour on the phone, asking questions, getting information. And for that reason, she wishes that we had face-to-face courses. But she said anytime that she has asked for time, personal time, I've been there and I've been available. So that's how accessible I am to my students. If they take advantage of it, I provide it.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Tarpley?
You know, one thing I started doing is virtual office hours. So if they need to call me, they know that I'll pick up my phone. And I've actually found that more effective than I'm kind of old school in office hours. I post my office hours, I keep my office hours, then I sit there for 10 hours a week and nobody comes by. But I found with these virtual office hours, students know when they can call me or when they can text or email. And I promise that I'll pick it up. That might even help. Sometimes I get a text or an email on a Saturday night at 11, because, you know, our students are doing their work all the time. And the old guy here is really having to relearn this thing. And, you know, when a student needs help, maybe it's okay to help them out on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. So I'm trying to learn that right now and try to be more available, even outside of office hours. But setting virtual office hours is helping. You know, what I found and what you're hearing from all the faculty, this is as good a university as I've ever been at, where faculty answer questions and they're available and they call back. And I think generally Tarleton is real good about all those things. And so that's a high bar that I try to live up to myself.
Dr. Martinson.
I would just echo that. I have virtual office hours. I teach only online graduate classes. So I post hours. I'm available by phone from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Of course, you can call me anytime. I'd still answer, but I tell them I'm available. Pick up the phone. I'm expecting you to call. And then I use the Canvas message system because it allows me, you just type in a question and it tells me who you are and what course you're in. So I have the contact. Actually, I require that. But I answer email usually within hours. Would be a long time. On occasion, it might be a day. But I know students are trying to get their work done on their schedule. And my whole purpose is to be here to support them. So I would think, and again, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I know a lot of us have that same approach in the College of Businesses. We're here to, help you learn and help you get through the programs. And we want to respond to you as soon as we can.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's see here. We're going to have to cherry pick what we cover in our remaining time. And then we did get a question from the audience that we'll be sure to cover. Does anyone have anything to say about graduate assistantships? How are those handled in your departments? Do you know? How would someone pursue those other than applying for the postings in Handshake? Is there any other advice you would give to someone on that topic? If not, we have lots of other questions. Okay. All right, no problem. We've got a lot of our prospective students who have not been students for many, many years. Any advice for those folks? Dr. Ross, very quickly, anything for them?
I would definitely say, as a returning student, be in touch with your advisor and all of your professors. Make sure that you have a quiet space, an organized space in your home so that you have somewhere to sit down, take notes, study, a design study time, but the main thing is to stay in touch with your advisor. Have a list of questions so that when you have time with that person face to face, you have your list and you're focused.
Thank you. Dr. Tarpley?
No, hey, all that is wonderful advice, especially for online students. That's good advice for face-to-face students as well.
Okay. Dr. Martinson, Dr. Murray, anything else to add on that?
No.
Good stuff. All right. What about when people have problems? You know, our graduate students are required to maintain a 3.0 GPA to stay in good academic standing. What should someone do when they realize they may be going underwater?
If I could, I as the program coordinator for I used to be the graduate program director in the College of Business, and I had the pleasure of dealing with students that were in the suspension and dealing with that. And I want to give a point of view that I think might be helpful for the student to understand. We have to maintain a minimum standard in order to be accredited, in order for us to achieve our goals. And we will do everything in our power to help students succeed. But at some point in time, if it's just not working, then then what ends up happening is we kind of help these students keep buying tuition and staying in the game, but they're not going to achieve the end result. And so it can be kind of brutal, but at some point in time, we have to say, look, if this isn't going to turn around, it might be best to stop, take a break, maybe look at a different program, because we don't want to, the longer we let that occur, the more difficult it becomes to stop it. But I just want to say that because, why do we have standards? What does it mean to be, not keeping up academically? The number one thing is talk to professors and get support and help and guidance so that you can help get through the courses. And they're not horrendously difficult, but there may be something preventing you from understanding the material or understanding the flow of the course so that you're not getting it completed the way the instructor's hoping for. Again, I was very intimidated when I went to graduate school because I'd never taken a business course, but I just leaned into it and did what the best that I thought I could do. I did actually talk to a couple of my instructors and say, look, I just don't think I can do this. I don't have this math background. And they're like, try it, stick around. This is one assignment. You may do better in these others. It turned out, other than the first assignment, I really got good grades and did really well in the course after that. And I was on the verge of quitting. And he just said, stick it out. So I would say, talk to the instructor, number one. But understand that it's important that we maintain the standard and so that, everybody gets the benefit of the program.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything else to add on that?
I would say with that, to make sure you do it early. The minute that you start to see that this may be a struggle for you, don't wait till even the middle of the semester to contact your professor early so you can get the support. That's really critical, and that can help to turn some things around for you before it becomes too late, because at some point, there's not much that can be done if you wait too long.
Right. I would agree. Don't become a ghost.
Awesome. Dr. Tarpley, anything you want to say to that? We're good. Okay. We will skip this question in the interest of time. Any mistakes you see people make? Anybody?
All the things the opposite of the advice we just gave you. Coming to see you too late. Not taking it serious and doing your homework.
All right.
And underestimating the rigor of online courses.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because it's online doesn't mean that you just kind of can't visit it and do what you need to do. In some ways, those require even more attention.
True. You have to be a self-starter. It's not watered down.
Right.
And unless you're focused, it's going to be very difficult. Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about why Tarleton and success stories. We don't really have time to get into it, but I think we all would agree this is a great place where people matter. You can get an excellent education for an affordable price and be supported while you're doing it. So, okay, question time. We got a few. Oh, we have 3 in the queue. So thank you for that. Okay, and these are lengthy. So give me a minute. Let me read what folks are saying. All right. This is a very good question. And this is for Dr. Murray and Dr. Ross. This person's got a degree in psychology, and they are currently working as a crisis interventionist, answering suicide crisis lines. What program would be a best fit at the master's level to give the most impact? And Dr. Murray, we often I meet students all the time who are interested in serving and giving back and counseling. And there's so many different routes. And I see them struggling between, should I do clinical mental health counseling? Should I do social work? Should I do applied psychology? And you mentioned that you've got your own private practice. So can you talk a little bit, very briefly, about what this person or anyone in a similar situation might use to figure out their path?
Absolutely. First, I'll say, please email me, fmurray@tarleton.edu, and we can have a longer conversation about this. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But given what you've presented in your question, social work is where it's at. This is exactly where you need to be. The great thing about social work is that you can do clinical work. So you can be a therapist once you're licensed and get the clinical. You can also do work as in policy. You can also do community organizing. So the great thing about the advanced generalist model of social work is that it trains you, it gives you that foundation to be able to do many things as it relates to helping individuals, groups, and communities. So that's my short answer. Email me and we can talk more about why social work is where it's at.
Yes. Well, and across the board, I always recommend talking with the faculty because they're the ones who really have a better sense of what the options are for the disciplines that you are considering. Okay, so this viewer asked, well, she mentioned she's been out of school 8 years. Any preparation advice for writing coursework? There's a lot of writing in grad school, a lot of reading.
What I would recommend is Google Writing Center, and you'll get about 1,000 different university writing centers, and every one of them is going to have all kinds of resources and guides. So if you haven't done it for a while, that's a good place to start. Look at Purdue OWL is a really good writing center. I use it. Tarleton has one, but just start reading about writing, reading about college level writing, reading about formatting papers. If you're in the College of Business, you're probably going to end up using what's called the APA method or the APA formatting guidelines, probably psychology. But that to me is the best way to start. And then start reading. Reading journals is not a bad way, or reading textbooks just to start developing the thinking along the lines of the way you will end up writing. I mean, that's how I did it. I'm a theater major. I read a lot of scripts. I'm a philosophy major. I read a lot of old texts. But how did I learn to write in business courses? I just read a lot of writing and started to understand the vocabulary and try to use that as a model when I responded to the assignments.
Others, anything else to add?
I'd like to add something on that. He mentioned that their program uses APA style. I didn't realize there were different writing styles till I got to graduate school. And there's APA and there's Chicago Turabian and there's AP style. And who knows what I'm leaving out. And so be aware that the way you did a bibliography in high school is probably not going to cut it at a graduate school. Find out what your writing style is. Buy the manual, and then a pretty important textbook for you.
Thank you. for our viewers, when you're in the graduate student life section of our presentation library, you're going to see a link to our writing center and also to some writing resources. So that's a first step you can take just to get an idea of what you need to be mindful of. All right, awesome. One last question from the audience. This person says their undergrad degree was in psychology. She wants to move into education at the district level, hopefully into a higher education position. Would grad school be beneficial in meeting her goals?
Have you taught is the first question. You sometimes moving into the district level is hard if you have not taught. Some positions you don't have to teach, some positions you do. If you're moving into HR or or counseling, director of counseling or something like that, you may not have to have that. You would just have to look at the qualifications online. So I would encourage you to go to it just escaped me. So do the same thing that Dr. Murray said. Send me an email, sdross, ROSS, at tarleton.edu. Again, it's sdross at tarleton.edu. And I just remembered it's tasanet.org, TASA net, N-E-T, tasanet.org. It's a TASA Career Center, Texas Association of School Administrators Career Center. And there's different schools and they have different positions posted. Just research, look at the different qualifications, see what they're asking for. And some of them, you have to have teaching experience to move up. And some of them you don't. But I would start there first because you would want to make sure you have the foundations and then to move forward in a nutshell.
Thank you. And I will put in a plug for Teammate, which is Tarleton's accelerated teacher education program. It's for people who want to be in classroom teachers and did not major in education for their bachelor's degree. And basically in 18 months, we teach you how to be an outstanding teacher. And many times you can combine Teammate with another discipline like Dr. Tarpley's program or English, kinesiology, and also get a master's in addition to that teacher certification. So keep that in mind. All right. Well, it's been a really great discussion. Thank you to our live audience for watching. We're going to wrap things up now. If you're wanting to stay in touch with our presenters, you can find their information on the Tarleton website. We've got an online directory with all of our faculty and staff information there. So feel free to do that as well. And we've got contact information for the College of Graduate Studies here. Please reach out to us as needed. We would love for you to join our Tarleton community. It's a really great place. And like I said, you get an excellent education for an affordable price and be supported as you're pursuing your goals. Just as a reminder, you'll be able to watch this presentation on demand in our presentation library, and be sure to visit all the other outstanding video content that's there in our library as well. Thank you to our faculty. I couldn't have asked for a better group of panelists. You've been wonderful, so forthcoming. And we really appreciate your time. I'm sorry we went over a little bit, but thank you so much. I'll let you get on. Everybody get on with the rest of their day. Appreciate you being here. We're going to end the webcast now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Happy careers.